Hi, this month we're making this cute little flower. It's the second flower in our Quilty Chicks block of the month, and it's a pinwheel block. Making this block is going to be fast and fun. You only need a few pieces of fabric. Should have talked about this first. This block is made with one color, but a light of that color and a dark of that color. You could do different colors, like maybe if you did a dark purple and a light blue, that could work. Play around with it. If they look good together and have a difference in value, that should be just fine. And just refer to the pattern to make sure you cut the right ones in the right places. So I'm going to set this aside. And these I need to cut into quarters. And if you're careful, some people only like cutting 2 layers of fabric at a time, but I'm okay with 4. So I'm gonna go ahead and stack them and then line up my ruler on the corners and cut this way and then cut this way. If this is awkward, you can also just move your cutting mat to get a better angle. If you're doing tons of these, one of the rotating mats might be nice. All right, these are all done. And now step 1 is to sew the background and light oranges together. So we're going to pair these together, but actually, okay, this is really easy, but somehow I am getting really distracted today. So let's finish step 1 and cut the dark square in half. Oh boy. All right, now we're ready. We're going to match them like this. And I'm going to go ahead and pin them so I know what side I want to sew on. And just put these in stacks. Okay, in retrospect, it might be good to cut them separately. You know, that's why you have these videos, so you can watch me doing it the hard way, and then you can do it the easy way. All right. Now that these are all arranged like the pattern, I'm going to put them right sides together and pin. Let's go sew these together. Now we're going to sew these triangles together. You're going to want to start on the square straight side, not on the pointed side, to avoid getting that triangle sucked down into the machine. Just make it a lot smoother. All right, got my pile here and ready to go. I'm going to snip these apart and then press them towards the orange fabric. Just going to give them a little mass seam setting. And then get them all ready to press. If I stack all of them this way, then I should be able to just take this, kind of pull open the orange, give it a press. Sounds so simple until you do it on camera. All right, here we go. We're on a roll. Make sure you get those seams all the way open and be careful that you don't pull on the triangles too hard, because there are these bias seams right there that you don't want to mess with. You want to keep everything nice and square. Now that we're done sewing, one thing it doesn't mention in the pattern, but is kind of nice, is trimming these little dog ears off. Just helps keep the block a little less bulky and a little neater. And all of these, we're going to pair these together. And this time, I think I'm going to just do it over at the sewing machine. All right, I've got my triangles over here, and I'm just going to match them up here at the sewing machine. Now, when you start to sew, I like to push that tip pretty far in so that when my needle comes down, it's coming down just at the edge of the fabric. And that'll help keep your fabric from getting gunked up and pulled down into the base of the sewing machine. And when you're sewing these, you just want to be careful, again, not to really tug on them. Putting it all the way in, and just let the feed dogs feed it through. Don't push it or pull it. Slow and steady. Now I'm just going to snip these apart and press, just like we did before. We're pressing towards the bright orange triangle, and so if it's on top, it's really easy just to press it to the side. If you're left-handed, you'll probably want to do this in reverse. The pieces used to make these units were for exact piecing, not oversized for trimming, so we don't need to trim them. But I am going to cut off these dog ears. Now we're going to lay them out. You can refer to the pattern. We're going to make 2 of them, so I'm just going to stack them 2 deep as I go. Oh my gosh, these are so cute. I really love this fabric. Yay! All right, I know I'll get these mixed up if I just take them over to the sewing machine, so I'm going to pair each of them and sew them together into rows. All right, now we're ready to sew. You might have noticed when you were pinning, and you'll notice while you're sewing that this seam and this seam butt up next to each other, and they should be right next to each other all the way down. And now we're going to press them to the side. Now, the instructions that I wrote say to press towards this, the light orange, but I think we should really be pressing this way. The blog just seems to go that way, so let's just do it. Don't pay attention to that author. It's not bad if you do it the other way. It's just fine, but I don't know. My block units kind of want to go towards the orange, the dark orange, because there's not a extra seam right here. So we're going to do our last seam. The most important part right now is to make sure these center seams line up. I'm going to wiggle the little units around until they're right up next to each other and pin right there at the seam. You can also put a pin on either side if you want. You can kind of just line it up at the sewing machine also. But that middle pin is crucial to having everything meet up right. It's not the end of the world if your points don't match in the center, but it's kind of fun if they do. All right, let's go sew. All right, we're ready to sew. We'll start on one side, but if you look at this middle section, there's a seam line that goes this way and there's a seam line that goes up this side. And where they intersect is where the point's going to be. So we're going to try to sew over that intersection. And that's one way to kind of, and it's kind of hard to see, to be honest. We're just going to do our best. When you're sewing with white on white, it's a little bit hard. I lost bobbin chicken. Let me switch this out. Even if you're not big on setting your seams, this is one seam I would make sure to do it. You just want these units to lay nice and flat, and setting the seam really helps them do that. All right, we are going to press. There's a lot of bulk right here. So even though I'm not usually a press opener, but we're going to press it open, and you can kind of get in there and use your thumb to help pre-press open the seam, if you will. And then I'm going to go in with the iron. And I really want this to, the seam to stay open and for the block to lay flat. So I'm going to spray it with a little bit of sizing, some starch. All right, there are our cute pinwheel tops. And here, lay these out here. Now, if you already made all of your stems, you'll have some just ready to go that you can just sew these together. If you haven't made all of your flower stems yet, this is the month to do it. This goes together so quickly that you're gonna just be like, what do I do with my time? I have so much time. So if you haven't made them, make this. If you've missed a couple blocks, go back and catch up with those blocks. I can't wait to see your cute little pinwheel flowers.